Okay, so I've been sat here for the last few days pondering what we should talk about, and I finally held my hands up and realized, well, this is what people do want to discuss. Let's get into AEW versus WWE. It's ridiculous. But yes, a few days ago, AEW did indeed show the CM Punk footage from All In on Dynamite. My word, it sent the internet totally crazy. Because some people are saying, oh my gosh, CM Punk was right, and some people are saying, oh my gosh, AEW was right. And you already know where I sit. If you do watch my content, I just hope that everyone is happy and maybe having a nice brownie right now. But let's just be honest, because I do think there's a lot of disingenuous opinions out there. If you are a wrestling fan of any kind, you wanted to see what happened backstage at All In. You can't help it. Curiosity killed the cat. My big thing is, when I did see it, I was like, well, that's kind of what I expected to see. CM Punk yelled at Jack Perry yelled at CM Punk. CM Punk then took a swing at him. Samoa Joe runs in, he breaks it up along with a lot of other AEW officials, and that's that. So we were told they had a scuffle, we saw the scuffle, and now we just have to move on to other things. And I really don't mind this, I don't. If WWE wants to take shots at AEW and AEW wants to take shots at WWE, it makes no difference to me, and that rhymes so it must be true. And also, if you go back to the Monday Night Wars, this was happening all the time. Eric Bischoff would go on Nitro and say, I want to fight you, Vince McMahon. And sometimes on Raw, you would get skits with the Nacho Man, whatever the hell they called Hulk Hogan. And look, I'm going to be completely honest with you, these were terrible, these were really bad, and to be honest, they're a little bit embarrassing. You can't all of a sudden pretend that this is brand new for the professional wrestling industry, because it's not, but I do think we got to a juncture where we just need to leave it. Because I actually thought last week's episode of Dynamite was perfectly fine. But when all of a sudden we went from the CM Punk stuff to the Young Bucks stuff to the FDR stuff, when Will Ospreay was here and he was taking shots at Triple H, even I, the most positive peak guy in the world that looks the best at everything, was like, I don't think we need to talk about this right now. Would somebody please do some wrestling? I'm not saying that Will Ospreay couldn't have responded to this, but maybe Dynamite wasn't the right time to do it, especially because one, if you hadn't seen that Triple H interview, you wouldn't know what he was talking about. And two, Triple H did it on the Pat McAfee show, did not walk out onto SmackDown and grab a microphone and talk about somebody on AEW's roster. I do think that makes a big difference. We also don't know who Triple H was referring to, but I totally get why Will Ospreay would be put out by this. Because if you were a detective and you put your detective hat on and you went through the evidence, it does sound like he was aiming these comments at the aerial assassin, and that seems massively unfair. Because listen, I professional wrestle at an independent level, and I can tell you this, 99.9% of people, even down there, are putting in so much effort, and while the WWE schedule may be even harder, let's just put our hands up and be honest. If you're offered twice the money, and somebody also says you can also balance it with your real life, you're probably going to be tempted by that. That's just how human beings work. I just think when all of a sudden you do get back-to-back segments like this, it does take away from what both companies are good at, especially when it comes to AEW, because you know you can tune in any single week and you are going to get top-tier matches. Like if you want to walk in here right now and say, Simon, I think AEW has one of the best rosters ever assembled, it would be hard to argue. At every single level, there's somebody that can walk out there and have a 5-star match. That's gone nuts after WrestleMania again. People getting so up in arms about what a 5-star match is, as if reviews for all entertainment products don't exist. Music, books, video games, everybody is throwing arbitrary numbers on these things. Don't take it too seriously, it doesn't matter. If you want to give something 5 stars, you know what, it is correct, because that's what you believe. It can just become way too much of a distraction at times, and actually if we do go back to WCW, you could probably say that is what Vince Russo did too much of when he came into power. Because all of a sudden everybody was just insulting to WWE, to the point we had a wrestler that looked like China, and we called her Asia. It's just like, man, we've gone way too far the other way, and someone needs to right the ship. And look, did they do that? No, they did not. And now WCW is dead. Now, it's not me saying that AEW is anywhere near in the same position. And in fact, that's something else on the internet that winds me up. People say, oh my gosh, AEW 2024 is like WCW in 2000. Do you know what happened in WCW in 2000? You could have Wrestler A versus Wrestler B. And do you know who the winner was? Wrestler C, who wasn't even announced for the match. So don't just all of a sudden jump on the bandwagon. Actually go and watch this year. And look, it's damn entertaining, but only because it's an absolute train. It's also just weird timing because, of course, we are only a few weeks away from AEW Dynasty, and that show looks absolutely amazing because not only are we going to get Samoa Joe taking on Swerve Strickland when Swerve is probably going to become the world champion, but we are getting Bryan Danielson versus Will Ospreay, which is a bona fide match of the year contender, as is Okada versus Pac. And this should be the calling card that AEW continues to come back to. And yes, I would prefer more stories here and there, but I'm still a big fan of the in-ring product. So if two all-timers are going to go at each other, then give it to me. I say this all the time. One day, I'm going to be dead. I don't want to be sat there being like, man, we should wait to do Will Ospreay versus Bryan Danielson, and then I get hit by a car because I'm going to be on the road going, why? Why did I do this? I should have just asked for it sooner. I mean, it's a very specific situation. I don't know why I said it, but there is a little bit of truth to it. I also want to point out, I think it's great that WWE is smashing it right now, and they've done like 14 sellouts straight, to the point they are now reducing their set in order to get more fans in the building. But this is the kind of stuff that I want to enjoy most when it comes to the week-to-week television. And sure, if you want to say ha-ha to you and they want to say ha-ha to them, you can do it here and there. But if all of a sudden you are going to release footage of CM Punk and then go straight into addressing Triple H, for my personal tastes, well, it's just a little bit too much. I mean, even if it was one a show, I'd be like, well, no, I don't think we need to do that. So two, at the same time, it is what it is. And when you engage your nerd button, let's not pretend we don't love it, because of course we do. This is all social media is. I'm going to insult you, so you're going to insult me. So when it's happening on a bigger platform, well, people go and do the dance of joy. It's certainly not all doom and gloom though, and I still think actually in 2024, AEW has a massive upside, because obviously they've hired Mercedes Moné, they've hired Okada, they have hired Will Ospreay, and if we can make sure that all these three people get into storylines that are super compelling, then MJF is going to come back, and Adam Cole is going to come back, and Tony Khan has made it very clear that he has a war chest of money in order to go out there and get new signings. Now, a few people thought this would be Sheamus, but he's now been confirmed to return to Raw soon. And Drew McIntyre has not signed a new contract at the moment, but I'm sorry, as far as I'm concerned, that should become the story, and we're going to do a video about this soon, because he should win the belt from Damian Priest at Clash of the Castle. Then he should say, listen, my contract has expired, I'm running away now, much like CM Punk did in 2011. But listen, tell me this, do not do it like we did 13 years ago, or whenever it was, when CM Punk returned to WWE after like 2 weeks. Drew should be gone for months, and Punk should call him out of it, and then we should get to SummerSlam, and we should do that match, and it will be absolutely brilliant. This is the kind of stuff I want from CM Punk, not all the other nonsense we have been doing. Again, I appreciated seeing it, but it's done now. Draw a line under it, move on. My big hope with all of it is that I think that Jack Perry is going to benefit from this tremendously, because if you go and watch the New Japan show they did in Chicago recently, he got a massive reaction, even though it is CM Punk's hometown. And when he first turned heel, a lot of people were like, oh man, Luke Perry's son, he can't play a bad guy. But when I saw him on that night, I actually think he had finally let it click in his head, and now he has all the potential in the world. And this is where it could be a massive positive, because again, we all remember Vince McMahon and Bret Hart and the Montreal Screwjob. Even though it was an accident, Vince McMahon used that to become the biggest heel in WWE. And while I doubt Jack Perry is going to follow in those footsteps, because that was crazy big, if this is the thing that makes fans go, oh my gosh, I do believe him as a jackass, he can probably join the Elite, he can probably help the Young Bucks win the World Tag Team titles by screwing over FTR, and then even though this would have been born out of the CM Punk situation, you stop referencing directly, and everyone is going to be happy and they're feel good in their Tootsie Toes. Also, a group with the Young Bucks, Jack Perry and Okada, that is crazy, not on my bingo card stuff. That's 100% why we should do it. So ultimately, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think people get way too carried away with it, but you can do too much of this. But let's not pretend we don't enjoy the discourse online. That's what really annoys me. People just want to shout, going, I can't believe they did this, even though they are benefiting the most. And I include myself in that too. Look at the video I just made. That ain't happening unless you get shots fired. Also, of course, please do ignore my weird surroundings, as I am touring the East Coast at the moment with the Last Match musical, which tickets are still available if you would like to come down. But otherwise, get in the comments below. Let me know what you think about all of this. Try and keep it calm, because tribalism does go crazy. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Click the notification bell. Otherwise, it's still grillermine.com/Simon. Use Simon to get 10% off. Patreon.com/Simon316. Simon316 on Instagram and Twitter. Simon J. Miller on TikTok. Simon Miller on Cameo. And I'm on Pro Wrestling Tees and Samson Athletics. You'll have to excuse my voice as well. I still have WrestleMania voice, and I really just need to go and rest, which is what I shall do now. But thank you for watching the content. Thank you for supporting me, and I'll see you soon.